we're in the end game now. As you can see in the bottom right, a lot of time has passed since my previous video, and I am well into the late game. So this episode is just to show off where I'm at right now, and then future episodes will be us building additional, or essentially just expanding the factory. So first thing I want to show you is all of my parts on Metallo 4. You can see the gas giant in the distance is Metallo 2. The planet orbiting that is Metallo 3, which is our starting world. But currently I have a factory that is outputting 20 universe matrices per second. So voila. This is where it all starts, the science facility. You can see the science from right to left. You got red, blue, yellow, purple, green, and universe. And here it is, outputting 20 per second. The science facility does use proliferator Mark IIIs, but most of my factory does not use proliferator Mark IIIs. Proliferator. And just these labs here are just the research labs. They're all on regular logistics towers with the interstellar towers up here. And then what I do is I set up the science facilities and then I work backwards from there as far as what I need to support this. And it's very difficult to know exactly what you need to support a particular output of science. And for that, I use Microsoft Excel. So that's a big part of what I want to show off in season 2 of these videos, is the way that I also kind of switch back and forth between Excel to help build things. So let me show that real quick. All right, you should be seeing Excel now. This is my spreadsheet calculator, whatever you want to call it. And up at the top, you got 20 universe matrices a second. So that's what this column is. Most things are just calculated from there. There's a couple other assumptions, like how many solar sails do we want to make, how many small carrier rockets do we want to make per second, same with space warpers and power. But other than those inputs, everything is sort of just churned out as a flow formula from what we need. The one difference I will say is there's, with alternative recipes, sometimes you have to choose, like, are you going to use the alternative recipe or not? I've sort of made some judgment calls there. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. But yeah, this is it. So each thing, like, you can track each production unit to one section here. Like, here's graviton lenses. This means that I have 40 buildings making graviton lenses, and the demand is 8.4 per second. We have facilities that could support 10 per second potentially. And green is good. That means we're making enough of the item. Now, eventually we're going to want to go in here and say, all right, let's double our factory to 40. When we do that, we're going to get a bunch of yellow here. And the yellow means, like, we got to build more facilities for these. So if y'all are interested, I could go over this in more detail. But in future episodes, when we start building out, expanding the factory, we're going to be switching back and forth between this very often. Okay, a couple other things to show y'all. Let's look at the Dyson sphere real quick. All right, so this is the Dyson sphere of our home system, Metallo. I think this middle layer you may be familiar with from the playthrough season 1. This outer shell you may not have seen. But I like the way it looks. I mean, obviously we could fill it in to create more power, but we're at 31.7 gigawatts right now, and plenty. You can see we're not even using all of that 31.7. On the power side, let's see how we look at power. Let's go to entire star cluster. Yeah, so we are using about 10 gigawatts, and that's it. Kind of surprising, right? So could be doing a lot more. So if we double the factory, that's 20 gigawatts, and I think we'll still be able to support 20 gigawatts with this one Dyson sphere. We do have another Dyson sphere building. I haven't even looked at it in a while. So here it is. It's in the Al Shamali system. I think well, no, I didn't entirely copy it. You can see, I was kind of playing with some cool designs on the inner layer, but the outer layer is the same as the Metalla outer layer. And that's kind of a slow work in progress. It looks like I'm probably not making enough solar sails, so I don't know, something to think about later. So I want to walk through my factory, and I'll start with Metalla 4 since I'm already on Metalla 4. Metalla 4 is currently used for science, as you can see, and the other big thing it's used for right now is hydrogen production. Here's an empty miner. We can get rid of that. And I'm gonna do my favorite thing, which is to turn down the music volume. All right. So we are just ticking away at technology. I'm going to go to the technology tree in a second, but I want to show you how this is all working. So in short, this is anything hydrogen related. There's also plane filters up there, which I'll talk about in a second, but this right here is anything hydrogen related. So we got, or I should say it's everything that produces hydrogen. So it imports crude oil, processes the crude oil, the light oil goes into X-ray cracking. Now I suppose some of the light oil ends up getting exported because we do use some light oil for plastic, but a lot of it, see there goes some right now, 2000. But a lot of it just goes into X-ray cracking to make more hydrogen. I think most of it does. But we have everything else hydrogen too, so that means we had to do graphene here. Here's graphene. And the critical photon splitting is done here as well, because that is an output of hydrogen. So why did I do all this? Well, I want this tower right here. This is the one creating hydrogen. I want that to be the first priority for anything else that's using hydrogen. The second priority of hydrogen is going to be the gas giants. That way it's essentially keeping all these running when it needs to be running. So hopefully that makes sense. So for example, like I think we got an attack coming, but that should be fine. I'll talk about that in a second. The graphite, for example, we need the graphite to always be being created because this is our only source of graphite. So one way to keep that happening is to make sure the hydrogen is going to always be used. Okay, and these are really big. You know, we have 20 universe science per second, so a lot of these things are pretty big. Like you can see, the crude oil processing goes almost all the way around the planet. 140 facilities. The X-ray cracking actually does go all the way around the planet. I don't even remember the number here. Probably 160 or something like that. Yeah, 162. So it's a lot of facilities. In fact, the planet here is using 2 gigawatts is all. It doesn't seem like much. I decided to move plane filters here also for no other reason other than it just required a lot of facilities. 180 facilities, that's quite a lot. Though, it appears that not many of them are being used, which is interesting. I wonder why. I'm not exactly sure. Hopefully not an issue. Hopefully not a mistake, but could be. And I think I was just emptying out some iron here, so I can delete that. But yeah, that's Metalla 4, so I will... Let's look at technology first, and then I'll hop over to Metalla 3. Alright, so here's the tech tree. Everything is done. I mean, I think the only things left are infinite researches. I guess the energy shield technically is not at the infinite level yet, but I mean, you have to go to level 26 before it gets to be infinite, so that's kind of insane. I think I'm at around, yeah, things with like 30 or 40k cubes are what I'm gonna be researching. So like if I see this, you know, probably want to NQ that, probably want to NQ this. But things like this, it's a 72k, I'll probably wait on that because that's gonna be a little bit longer. 40k, we could do that. I'm trying to do the cheapest ones, you know, in order basically. Alright, we are approaching Metallo 1, and the main thing Metallo 1 is used for is smelting. So that's its primary purpose. I guess another purpose of Metallo 1 would be gathering critical photons. So if I go to the top here, yeah, it is gathering critical photons. We could probably expand this if we had to. Like if we needed to gather more photons than we were gathering, I think we could probably do that. Similar to Metallo 4, it's at about 2 gigawatts of consumption of power. Let's see where all that power is coming from. Now, it looks like we might have a bit of an issue, right? Is that just me, or? I'm getting a suspicion that something's going on with my factory because these aren't working right now. They're all like backed up. Even this is backed up. But at least I can still show off the factory. So yeah, magnets, silicon, glass, iron, copper, titanium. These are huge production amounts. The silicon especially is very large, which kind of has me concerned, like long term, like how do we keep up with silicon, you know? I'm starting to think about universe-wide supply of resources, and if they're balanced to the rate at which that I'm actually using resources. Possibly not. Possibly not. Also, look at that, there's 800 iron left. I was actually trying to kind of tweak some settings so that the copper, so that all the minerals on this planet would be used first before importing. And I couldn't really find a clever way to do that, so with the iron, I'm just doing it by belting the iron over from the last remaining mining facility. And then for the copper and titanium, I'm just not importing anything. Yeah, so here's copper. Just not importing. Silicon I am importing because we're already out of silicon on this planet. But titanium as well. I don't believe we are importing titanium at all. Yeah, cool. And I think on the southern pole, south pole, we are also gathering critical photons. Is that true? I haven't been down here in a while. Yes, it appears we are. Okay, so this is actually a big one. But the other pole was a small version. We could expand it still. Okay, so that's Metallo 1. So this planet won't look too different from what you probably remember. Maybe a little bit, because I mean there's just more stuff. But this is where everything else is. Long term, we'll probably end up having to outsource more of this stuff to other planets, maybe other star systems even. But yeah, everything's here. We got particle broadband, which is, that has plenty to do, so they're all working. And most things are fine. I don't immediately see anything wrong with this. The other thing I've noticed is, like, I'm still using intraplanetary towers a lot of the time. I think eventually that will change. So for example, this tower is importing prisms, circuits, grading crystal, exporting photon combiners. In the future, this could all be interstellar, and it could just be like importing prisms interstellarly. So, something to think about for improvement. Now, this is a pretty big hub. We're using 3.5 gigawatts. Look at this. This is not good. Looks like some power plants are not getting fuel for some reason. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I had this problem before, where like we seem to be low on antimatter. This is the line of facilities making antimatter fuel rods, but it doesn't have enough antimatter to actually do it. So I don't know what to think about that. Something I'm going to diagnose maybe between now and episode 1. Well, yeah, tons of facilities. I'm kind of showing it off here, flying around. Some things have gone kind of crazy, like the electric motors is an extremely long line. It goes from here, goes all the way down here, and then it flips around and keeps going. And that's not even enough. I kind of forgot this. I had made a whole separate tower making more electric motors right here. So like thinking about doubling that is kind of overwhelming to think about. That could be something where we outsource it to another planet. We've got our critical photon production. All of our ray receivers are only on critical photon mode at this point. So all of our power production is coming from those artificial star power plants. But if they continue to struggle to get fuel, we're gonna dip below sufficiency here. But I think for now we're surviving. Here's more ray receivers at the top. But that's it, you know. Let me go to the proliferator area, if I can find it. Because, you know, at first I had an idea of doing proliferators for everything everywhere. But as I was working in Excel, calculating everything out, it appeared that that wouldn't be super smart because of all the coal that it uses. So we're really, I mean, this is it. It's just 6 facilities making proliferator. That's not bad at all. And it's really only used for the science. Basically, I saw that coal is a pretty rare resource in the universe. So I didn't want to like burn through a bunch of coal really fast. But anyway, that's what we're doing. And then one other thing before we go, I'm going to zip over to this star system. It's called Kappa Craterus 4. And as I go there, I'm going to talk about kind of the military situation. For the most part, I've been clearing out the dark fog whenever I see it. So I don't think there's a lot of dark fog presence in most of the systems that I'm occupying. The exception to this is Kappa Craterus. Basically, I wanted to have at least one area where I was just farming dark fog, because eventually, once the dark fog grows strong enough, you'll be able to get special resources from them,
Warp engine deactivated,
which will allow you to build like super fast facilities and stuff. So that is what this planet is attempting to do. And I'll show you the setup of it. Also, I want to remind myself about the setup of it because I don't really remember. It looks like there are 3 dark fog bases here. This is my defense hub. It kind of looks cool. I like it. We got some artificial stars. You know, I wonder how many the antimatter fuel rod shortage could be because of like shipping things to external planets and stuff, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, I kind of want to stay here while they attack. So we have these battlefield analysis bases all around so that they can repair when things get damaged. We have signal towers well, we have this inner loop of like missile turrets, but then we have signal towers that kind of extends their range a little bit. Not super far, but it does extend the range a little bit. And then we have plasma turrets around the outside, so these kind of just zap everything. I think they're like pretty big AoE, slow shooting AoE kind of stuff. Space invasion is not necessarily being handled unless the missile turrets would handle it, but I'm not worried about that right now because they never happen. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of my empire so far. And starting season 2, episode 1, we're going to start actually expanding the factory. It'll be a combination of like expanding the factory plus exploring new planets and dropping miners and stuff. Probably some editing involved, but yeah, hopefully it's of interest. I'm kind of excited to see how high up we can go on the end game. But thanks for watching, and I'll leave it on to watch this military attack, which it's not going to do much, trust me. All right, see you on the next one.